On this week's episode of Ramz'S Hoosier Pawn.
Each of these is a medal. If you look on the edge of one of these, you see that there's a hallmark, and it does apparently say 10K on there, so I'm hoping that they're 10K gold.
I have beaded moccasins. These belong to my aunt, who is 101 years old. They've been in her family as long as she can remember.
Brought in a flathead catfish today. I'm looking to sell it to Ramz'S maybe, trying to get $8.50 out of it.
I've got the silver bar I bought a while back, and I think maybe it's time to reap the rewards of my investment.
This is Randy Ramsey, and this is his pawn store. He works here with his wife Melanie, sons Corey and Chad, and daughter Amanda. Many items here have a unique story. And after 25 years in the business, he's learned that you never know what's coming through the door next. This is Ramz'S Hoosier Pawn.
A couple of years ago, I noticed that my husband Randy was watching the reality shows all the time, like The Pickers, The Storage Wars, Restoration and Pawn Shows. I listened as he made comments like, "We have one of those at our store," or "The barber chair at our store looks just like that one, but ours is in much better shape." It was then that I started talking about seeing if we could get local businesses together to tell about their unusual purchases. Well, I discovered that the only way that we could get that across in this area was to produce and pay for our own show. And that was March of 2012. This year, after customers encouraged us to create our own show, we made a plan with JP Video Productions and we forged ahead. Our goal is to showcase Lafayette treasures, its people, and add a spark to our community. Before we even aired our first episode, people were so excited to be a part of it and to see what we had discovered in our great Lafayette area. So please, sit back, relax, and enjoy our show.
You know, Amanda, we never know what's coming through the door next. We had this particular foot, or they call it a yard-long picture, but it's the graduating class of Purdue University in 1915. And by the same time period, we acquired the class ring that one of the graduates received in 1915, and he later became the Secretary of Agriculture for President Roosevelt. And
Wow.
then as he served in various capacities, this Claude Wickard, this was one of his gavels in 1951. He has since passed away, but he actually lived up in the Delphi area.
Very cool.
You think cool?
Yes, very.
Hi, my name's John, and I brought a couple items today that I think are significant parts of Purdue history, and also just have some intrinsic value to them. And I'd like to find out both what they're worth and possibly sell them.
How are you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
I'm glad you stopped in.
A couple of items I wanted to ask you about and show you. These are
Are they brass or bronze?
Well, I
or?
don't know. See, if you look on the edge of one of these, you'll see that there's a hallmark, and it does apparently say 10K on there, so I'm hoping that they're 10K gold. Each of these is a medal that was awarded to a guy named A.A. Potter, a professor at Purdue. I believe the Potter building is named after him. And he was a agricultural engineering professor, or an engineering professor. The one that you're holding there is one that he won. I think it says in 1940, if you flip it over on the other side. It's got the date and his name engraved on it for teaching, undergraduate teaching award, and it is a national award. This one, this is my favorite here. It's the Cyrus McCormick Award for agricultural engineering, and I believe that was given to him in 1954. So to me, these are significant items about people at Purdue, and a great reminder of this guy's contributions. Unfortunately, when I've had these for a few years now in contacting Purdue, there really isn't any interest in them in their collection, which
That's too bad.
that's very sad. Okay, so since their interests and mine are different about them at the time, my goal is to just find out what they're worth. If you're interested in purchasing them, that's fine. I'd rather have them somewhere where there's a lot more traffic and people can see them, and hopefully they'll stay in the local community. because when I found them at auction, a few years ago, that really I purchased them for three reasons. One, because I like the metallic art. They are an item with Purdue. And also, I didn't want to see them leave the local community. Okay,
Right.
That was another item.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that makes me sad about there's no interest in them, because I thought that this would be great.
Well, they definitely have some significant value for our local area. The sad part about it is, if indeed they are gold, they're worth more than what somebody's willing to pay for them as a piece of art.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I check one of them and just to verify?
No, please do.
It is marked 10K, and it's made by the Metallic Art Association. Let me, normally when we're testing something, we don't want to get anything like a deep groove and something like that, but just touching the edge of it will allow us to get some kind of reaction if indeed it needs to be. We just have to rub it very slightly and put a drop of acid on the edge, and based on the reaction that we get, we can tell whether it is gold or not, and it's reacting as it should. So it's something
Good news for you.
Yeah, it's something we possibly would be interested in. Is it something that you're thinking about selling, or would like to get a loan on it?
Well, no, I was thinking about selling when I got them at auction for virtually paying nothing for them.
Wow.
They were $25 a piece is what I paid for them at auction. And
Well, we'd be happy to give you 50 a piece. Actually, let me just calculate something here real quick. Based upon the, let me get a weight on one of them here. And I think they look like they're pretty close to the same weight. Well, I don't know if you're going to be surprised or not. How about $3,000?
that sounds like a sum I can definitely use. That works very well. I mean,
That would give you a fair profit margin.
yeah. And I mean, one of the reasons I'm also looking to turn these over for my own interest is that I do fund different charities in the local community and the like. And certainly when you think about these things just sitting in a safety deposit box versus actually helping to put food in the mouths of children or clothes or whatever, it makes no sense for me to hang on to them and just have them there. I'd rather have the money go to work.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, if you'd like to sell them, we'd offer you $3,000.
Sounds like
And
a
if
deal.
you'd like to take that, we'll get you a check here, and appreciate you coming in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up next on Rams'S Hoosier Pawn.
Remember when we started Ramsey Exchange on Elmwood Avenue in 1988 with a little jewelry, coins, antiques, and collectibles?
Yes, and people had such needs for borrowing money, so we became the county's first licensed pawn shop so we could help.
Then we moved everything 20 years later to North Fairby Drive, doubling our space and renaming it Ramz'S Emporium.
And we still care about people and their needs, giving as many loans as we can on items of value.
Get help from the caring people at Ramz'S Emporium.
Hi, I'm Ken Taji. I'm here in Fowler, Indiana. I'm a master taxidermist, and I help Rams'S with some of their taxidermy work that they get in to do some repair work for them. It's also a place for me to bring my mounts when I get done competing with them to get rid of them, to sell them. I'm retired as a taxidermist. I've been doing it for over 30 years. I'm just trying to enjoy life now. And I enjoy doing the artwork, and most of my pieces you will see is more art than taxidermy. And that's just part of what I love doing is taxidermy. I still help with things like the wounded soldier programs. Last year we had a wounded soldier that unfortunately lost a couple of limbs, and the National Turkey Federation took him turkey hunting, and through the association I was able to get a taxidermist to come in and donate the mount, and we awarded it to him this year at our state show. So being in a position as master taxidermist for the state, it allows me to get and help people in different ways. But with Rams'S, every once in a while they get some weird things in. I'm able to help them on what it is and if it's legal for them to sell. I also go in and help repair some of the older items that come in, because those items you can't get anymore in some things. So one of the craziest things Ramz'S ever brought me was a Cape buffalo. And unfortunately, the taxidermy wasn't very good on it, and they hung it over a fireplace. And in the taxidermy world, when you have a skin mount, the worst thing you can do is hang it over a fireplace. Because what happens is it heats it up and it cools off, and it heats up and it cools off. Well, it does things to the skin and it makes it brittle. Well, here's one of the heads that I've got from Ramz'S, the Cape buffalo. Now, one of the bad things when this thing first came to me was that the individuals had hung it over a fireplace. And that is one of the worst things you can do to a real skin animal, is hang it over a fireplace. The heating and cooling of the skin tends to make it brittle, to where it just falls apart in your hand. And that's what happened with this mount when we first come in. And this was a full shoulder mount. And as you can see now, it's a neck mount. The other thing was, and this goes to you fellows to make sure that you get a good taxidermist out there. If you take a look, now you can see where I patched it, where I came in and tried patching it with my glue. But you can see how there's not glue all over the mannequin. And that's part of the problem that it had, was because the skin wasn't completely glued down in the right places. Every time you touched it, it caused a hole to be in the skin. So what I've done for them is we've taken it, we've made it into a neck mount, and we've gotten rid of most of the bad stuff. And we've came in, and we still have a little bit of repair work to do here and a little bit on his nose and stuff. But I'm able to come back now and do some airbrushing to it and paint those pieces in, so that when we get done, you're going to have a beautiful head to look at. Now, I know right now it's not completely painted, but I know it looks 100% better than what it did. And when we finish painting this will be something that you would like to have in your man cave or to hang in your house. Just don't hang it over your fireplace. You may notice one of the interesting pieces that are sitting behind me. These are generally the pieces that, again, I don't call it taxidermy because it's got more art form to it than taxidermy. But this is the type of stuff that I like doing. It makes everything that I do tells a story. This particular piece has a crow at the top. It has a cow skull in the middle with a dream catcher, a double dream catcher in the middle. As you go down the post, there's 2 arrows that are made. And at the very bottom, you have an eastern diamondback rattlesnake set in sagebrush and tumbleweed. The base is also the same shape as the wings of the crow, which carries the art piece through. This piece has been to competition and has taken 2nd place in Masters in the state of Indiana, and also 2nd place in Masters in Ohio. Occasionally I do have a piece that really hits home with me and they don't go anywhere. So, and this is one of those pieces. This is one of the unique items that you can find at Ramz'S. This is a red golden pheasant. They're only farm raised. They're beautiful birds. Again, I've won in the state of Indiana with this bird, and in Ohio. It's taken the best of its class. This is one of my items that you'll find at Ramz'S.
You just never know what's going to come in the doors next. Lately, we've been getting a lot of Indian artifacts. Here's a movable jaw carved out of wood. We have stone, anywhere from effigies, that are bird stones and plumb bobs, and just a variety of this particular piece here. I've got it priced at $1,500, and we saw a banner stone, a butterfly banner stone made out of this kind of a reddish quartz.
Oh my, how beautiful!
For thousands and thousands of dollars. So if you have the right pieces, the biggest problem with Native American artifacts is there's so many things being reproduced. Mm-hmm. So we have to be careful with that.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've heard you talk to people about that. Yeah. These are beautiful colors.
Yes, we have just a lot of different stone as well as slate, all types of Indian artifacts.
That's pretty weird.
My name is Sue. I brought beaded moccasins that belong to my aunt. She's 101 years old and thinks it's time to get rid of a few things. I'd like to sell the moccasins for her. I don't know what they're worth. I'd like some advice.
Hi there, how are you today?
Fine, thank you.
I'm Melanie.
I'm Sue.
Well, nice to meet you, Sue. What do you have for us today?
I have beaded moccasins. These belong
pretty.
to my aunt, who is 101 years old.
Oh.
They've been in her family as long as she can remember. I think they're probably from one of the Plains tribes.
Oh, do you know which one?
I'm guessing Cheyenne, one tribe that's in Oklahoma, and there were several tribes in Oklahoma. The interesting thing about these moccasins is they are beaded on the soles as well as on the top.
Beautiful. Let me get my husband just a second. Randy,
right.
can you come and help me, please?
Sure.
Look at these.
Oh,
Aren't
my.
they beautiful?
They are very attractive.
They're beaded on the bottom as well as all through over the surface.
Typically, when they do something like that, it's either for some kind of a ceremonial usage or for a marriage, because it's not something that you would want to wear on the ground and get mud in it or wear them down.
I would think the beads would break if somebody
yeah.
stepped down on
So
them.
I would imagine it's probably some significant usage that they had them for. So what was it you thought the age was on these?
Well, I think they're the late 1800s, and I think that because my aunt had an Uncle Dan, and as soon as Dan finished high school, his uncle took him to Oklahoma. His uncle was a land speculator, and this was almost exactly the time of the great land rush in Oklahoma.
Oh my.
Wow.
So these possibly came back with Dan from Oklahoma at that time, although he went back to Oklahoma at other times. The interesting part of this whole tale is my aunt lived in a house that her grandfather built. It passed through 3 generations, over 100 years in the same family.
My.
And she decided it was time to sell the house. Well, by that time she was getting up in years, so she asked my husband and me if we would go clean out the attic, which of course we would. And the attic was like an entire 3rd floor. You could walk around it standing up. And we did, we cleaned it out. I took home some pictures and some scrapbooks and some letters and the moccasins and a few other things, but it really wasn't a bad job. And so when we saw my aunt at the end of the day, I said to her, I thought there would be more stuff up there. And she said, well, there used to be, but she herself had done some cleaning some years earlier. So I asked her what she'd done with the things from the attic. She said, you remember that window at the end of the attic? She opened it up. It looked right out on the street. She tossed things out the window. They landed at the curb for the trash man to pick up. I didn't ask any more questions. I didn't want to know.
I'm happy that these didn't get thrown
I
out
am
too. Is it something that you're thinking about getting a loan on or selling?
No, I'd like to sell them for her.
Well, I do have quite a few pieces of artifacts in Native American beadwork. We have a knife sheath, we have a tobacco bag, we have just a number of beaded type items. Just based upon what I've gotten invested in some of those, and it seems that Native American artifacts are a little bit slow in marketing right now. Did you have a price in mind that you were hoping for?
Yeah, I tried to find these online.
Okay.
There was a great variety,
Sure.
a large range. I couldn't find anything with beaded soles.
Oh, okay.
So I'm thinking these are probably at the higher end.
The higher end. Based upon just my own knowledge of having sold similar type things, I would probably want to be into them about $300.
My aunt would take $300.
Oh, well, very good. Well, then we came to a good agreement.
We have a deal.
Yes, I thank you very much.
You're welcome. Nice to meet
I'll
you,
have my
Melanie.
wife write you up and get you some money, and appreciate you coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, this is Randy Ramsey, and this is Ramz'S Emporium. He works here with his wife Melanie and his daughter Amanda. You never know what's coming through the door next.
Turn of the century 14 karat white gold filigree diamond and sapphire bracelet.
A lady's antique bracelet with rose-cut diamonds.
A beautiful freshwater pearl necklace.
If you're looking for one-of-a-kind items, go to Ramz'S on North Fairby Drive in Lafayette.
You never know what's going to come into Ramsey's.
What do we get, Dad?
Well, can you identify this?
Well, it's got a sharp blade on it. I don't know.
I was in an antique mall over in Ohio a couple of years ago, and one of these was in a little Ziploc bag, and they had on it metal, whatchamacallit, $5. It's about $150 value, so I bought it for $5. Not this one, but one like it. But these bleeders were used even back in George Washington's time, and what they would actually do, this one here has a single blade, you cock it, and this hammer then, when you squeeze the trigger, drives the blade into your skin, and what they believed was where you prick the skin, it would cause healing to that area. But these bleeders can come in just a single blade. They also had some that look like little ink scrapers that they used to use when they used fountain pens that they would just strike the skin with. But they also had some that were about this big square, and they would have slits. I've seen them as much as 16 cuts, that you could cut yourself 16 times with a single trigger pull. So that's pretty neat to have walk-in. We don't see them often. I probably have had, I would say probably 3 in the last 25 years.
So I know you haven't been feeling well lately. Do you want me to try it out on you?
That might help. Or we could try leeches.
Okay.
My name's Tracy. I brought in a flathead catfish today. I'm looking to sell it to Ramsey's maybe, trying to get $8.50 out of it. It's just taking a lot of room up in my showroom, and I'm ready to get rid of it.
Hi, Tracy. What'd you bring in today?
I brought in a flathead catfish. This was a competition piece that I did, and it's taken up a lot of room in my showroom, and I'm hoping to sell it today.
Oh, I see you have several medals for it.
Yes, it's won People's Choice, Taxidermist Choice, and first place in 3 different states, and several other awards. The public has really been happy with this piece.
Did you catch it in the Wabash?
I've caught them this size and bigger out of the Wabash.
Oh, wow. How was this one done then?
This is a reproduction. It's actually a copy of a real catfish, but skin mounts are really hard to do on catfish. And if you find a taxidermist to do one, it's probably going to cost you around $3,000.
Wow.
This piece right here would retail, if you were to come into my shop and ask me to do something for this, this would cost you about $1,200.
Wow.
And we're looking to get about $8.50 out of it from you guys.
It's definitely a nice looking piece.